So last Saturday, Jessica and I celebrated our anniversary. We went for a 7-course fine dining meal at Ugly Duckling in Victoria's Chinatown. The standouts were the sablefish and the 60-hour prime rib. Now, the temptation was there to get the phone out and make photos of every single course, but it was kind of a moment for us. It was like fleeting and like really real, so I wanted to be super present. Also real was the hangover the next day, but it wasn't from drinking. I don't drink, and Jessica just had the wine pairings with the meal. There was some puffiness in her eyes, and Jessica had a small breakout happening. I could feel some inflammation happening in like unusual spots. Now, there's nothing wrong with the meal. We weren't getting sick. We're actually used to these sort of things happening on Sunday morning after a Saturday night dinner if there's a lot of meat, because most of the time we're plant-based. Yeah, we're plant-based and we still eat meat and other animal source foods on occasion. Actually, a 24-hour window once a week, usually from Saturday night to the same time on Sunday. We revisit the old favorites, try out new stuff, go to Ugly Duckling or order Domino's or have some wings with friends. Most people see this and go, oh, a cheat day. I don't like that phrasing. There's no transgression happening, and we don't need to use the language of one and then wink and nod it away. It's just flexibility that we've built in from the start. It doesn't really have a name, it's just something that we do. It's why I don't use the V word to really describe how I eat. Almost everything I've learned about doing plant-based is built on those people experimenting on themselves since the vegan society split from the vegetarians during wartime rationing in November of 1944. Their position is a moral one encompassing more than just food, and I don't want to do anything to dilute the meaning of the term out of respect for these people that I learned so much from. Anyways, this is all Jiu-Jitsu's fault. In the autumn of 2019, I finished rolling for the day and noticed something really strange. Skipping meat for one day gave me what felt like superhuman stamina the next. It wasn't a deliberate thing. I actually panicked the second time it happened and had to check my notes before I realized what was probably going on. And it was Penn Jillette's doing, ultimately. I've listened to his podcast from the very beginning and read his book here about losing 100 pounds on a mono diet of potatoes. And I just haven't stopped reading about plant-based since then. Jessica and I had been trying out plant-based food for a little while, but that day before I got to the mats was the first moment that like breakfast, lunch, and dinner all clicked. So I did it again, on purpose this time, and it worked. So I thought to myself that if I feel better when I'm playing jiu-jitsu, when I'm at my modest physical limits, how would the rest of my life feel when I'm out doing just the regular, like walking the dogs, day jobbing, hanging out with the wife? I decided to give plant-based a proper shot. I just ask around and then go by the manual that helps people switch to plant-based. How hard could it be? So it turns out there was no instruction manual, and it's also really hard. I heard that one of the guys at the gym was a vegan, so I went to him for advice. The very first thing he told me was, you can't be lazy. All the books I'd read echoed this, so I just accepted it and got to work. Now, I was doing it, but I was cooking almost every meal we ate, and there were stumbling blocks. The main one was impulse control problems between dinner and bedtime. I get hit by the munchies hard, and if marijuana's involved, I start behaving like I'm about to starve to death unless I have some potato chips or a piece of cake. The other problems were just the failures of a beginner. I'd run out of the food that I wanted to eat. Now, I figured this would sort itself out, but a couple of months into all of it, I realized I was using motivation to pull it off and that none of it was sustainable. So I needed a different approach. By this time, I had a couple of months of data in front of me and started unpacking the problem of omnivore to plant-based. It occurred to me that every book on my shelf, every YouTube video, every podcast I listened to was about why and what, morality and health benefits, recipes and where to eat or what to buy. How was being discussed, but never seriously, never with any depth. My background in corporate sales and pest control is all about training people to obsess over how to fix a problem rather than dwelling on the symptoms. I'm trained to keep people focused on the solution. What if I applied that thinking to plant-based? That thought gave me a shot of optimism. It felt good. Next, I realized Jiu-Jitsu has never frustrated me the way this diet change had. I'd been reading so much vegan and health literature that I'd inadvertently been building plant-based as an identity. But what if I treated it just like Jiu-Jitsu instead, as a skill? I realized I'd only fail if I stopped. As long as I kept showing up, kept trying, I'd just be unskilled, learning. I'd get better at it every day, every time I practiced it. That gave me more optimism. It felt really good. I was still figuring out how to put all of this together, the manual, when I dumbassed my way into the silver bullet. Convenience first. I'm leaving a grocery store after doing some work there and grab a protein bar, and at the checkout I see a Wonder Bar and I grab that too because I'm a glutton. And I'm in the truck eating one after the other, and it hits me. These choices were equally convenient. In that moment, with a mouthful of candy bar, time felt like it slowed down. I realized that if there were options that were equally convenient, there would be options that were more convenient and also less convenient. All the meal prep, all the running around to try different restaurants and specialty stores and ingredients, all the deep diving into vitamins and supplements. Until then, for months, I'd been doing everything that was less convenient. No. Actually, what was much harder than what I'd been doing before. All at once, all haphazardly. And from my research, it's what almost everyone does. So I flipped it, and it occurred to me that I wouldn't even have to start with what was most convenient. I'd start with what I'd never have to give up. 3 things popped into my mind immediately: black coffee, Oreo cookies, yellow mustard. So it wasn't all about sacrifice. Then I got to work where I'm weakest, in the most convenient and gluttonous way possible. I tried everything from all the grocery stores I worked at. Then I got my breakfast really right, then lunches, and then Jessica sorted out dinners. At 6 months, I had been 100% strict plant-based for several weeks, more than a month, and I didn't even realize it. Then we walked it back. The final sticking point was sacrifice. Korean fried chicken, barbecue with friends, pizza, cheese, Wonder Bars. I'd think about them and feel anxious. It was the literature again. I'm not trying to be a vegan. I just want to get enough of the benefits of plant-based to say good enough. Jiu-Jitsu has felt great since the switch, and the day-to-day stuff has been noticeably better too. So we took the pressure off and discovered something unexpected. The old favorites didn't satisfy in the same way any longer. A burger was just a burger. A bag of chips or that Wonder Bar was more about the physical packaging than the actual food inside. Korean fried chicken and barbecue is just the venue to share a meal with friends. Ugly Duckling is something special to enjoy with the person I've shared my life with for 23 years now. So, plant-based made my jiu-jitsu habit easier. First, it improved my stamina, a night and day difference. Then I applied the thinking, the obsession with how and convenience to everything I do off the mats. Attending class, being on the mats, has become as frictionless as eating that Wonder Bar in my truck. Now, I could have done all of this without the diet change, but it wouldn't have occurred to me. That deep dive into plant-based was the catalyst for all of this. The irony is that the approach here is diet agnostic. I could have done this as an omnivore. The biggest hurdle in retrospect was the constant pull to conflate what we eat with who we are. Once I stopped doing that, all I was left with was the how. And that's just another skill to practice. Your mileage may vary.